Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. As auto workers in Canada worry about their jobs as they face the brunt of U.S. tariffs, workers on the other side of the border are singing a different tune. CBC's Chris Ensing brings us our top story.
I'm just coming out of a United Auto Workers rally in Michigan, where the stance on tariffs was pretty clear. They believe that it will bring back jobs to the United States, but they don't think those jobs are coming back from Canada.
They say cut back, we say fight back. Cut back, fight back, cut back, fight back.
At an American auto worker rally, about 200 people pushed Stellantis to increase production in the Detroit area. But they're not talking about the Windsor-built minivan or Dodge Charger. They got their eyes on something else.
You don't think that truck that's down in Mexico needs to come back there? Yes.
That's UAW Regional Director LaShawn English, targeting Mexican jobs. She represents workers at assembly plants across Michigan and members at automotive parts plants in southwestern Ontario. English was in Windsor visiting operations last week. She says Americans' fight for automotive jobs is not with Canada.
We're equal. They pay great wages over there. We pay great wages over here. There's no disadvantage between the two countries. And that tariff that he's putting on them should go away.
It's a shift from the UAW's official stance. The union's national president, Shawn Fain, has welcomed the automotive tariffs unleashed by U.S. President Donald Trump. Auto parts entering America are tariffed 25% if they don't fall under the current free trade agreement, and there's a 25% tariff on the content of imported vehicles to the U.S. that isn't CUSMA compliant. It's a complicated calculation, with Trump now offering credits to automakers to ease what they say will be a blow that costs billions of dollars. Ford says these tariffs will cost them $1.5 billion this year. GM says tariffs will sink profits by $4 to $5 billion. Stellantis, they haven't put a number on it. They say tariffs have made it too difficult to predict.
Not a good scenario for the D3's operations in Canada. You may get what you want in the reduction of production in Canada and Mexico, but it doesn't mean they're going to get more in the U.S. It just means that you're going to make one or two or three of those closer to a bankruptcy.
There is sympathy for the Canadian auto worker in this American Union Hall, but the message to the automaker is clear.
Invest in us, invest in us, invest in us. Thank you all.
Chris Ensing, CBC News, Warren, Michigan.
A 26-year-old woman has been charged with animal cruelty after a video of her tasering a dog went viral online. And just a warning, the video that we are about to show you is difficult to watch. Windsor police say that they started investigating on Monday after receiving multiple reports about that video. The woman was charged with causing unnecessary suffering to an animal and possession of a prohibited weapon. The dog was removed from the home and turned over to the Windsor-Essex County Humane Society. Anisha Richardson posted the video on Facebook after discovering it on the social media network Snapchat. She says that her love of animals compelled her to take a stand.
I shedded a tear. It was really sad. I'm like, that poor dog. That poor dog. There's probably a family who would have taken care of that dog, and she's over here traumatizing the poor thing.
And this afternoon, the Windsor-Essex County Humane Society posted a picture of the dog. They say that he is in good condition, bright and alert, but he's scared and needs some time to adjust, so he's not available for adoption at this time. The Humane Society says anyone who sees an animal in immediate danger should contact police, and for an animal being neglected, they can call Animal Welfare Services Ontario. Earlier this week, we told you that the election results in one of our local ridings is being challenged by the incumbent candidate who lost his seat by a slim margin. CBC's Pratyush Thayal explains why this is happening and what happens next.
The Liberal candidate who ran in last week's federal election in Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore riding is asking for a recount. Liberal Eric Kuzmierczuk says he believes many of the rejected 536 ballots were wrongfully rejected and is now asking for a judicial recount. But what is a judicial recount?
Before a judicial recount can go ahead, a judge must first determine whether it's justified. If it is, teams can be brought by each of the contending parties. In this case, the Liberals and the Conservatives. Other parties listed on the ballot can also send people. In their presence, Elections Canada staff goes through all the ballots, and the votes are counted for the second time.
That recount also includes the rejected ballots. Wonder what makes a ballot rejected?
Elections Canada says a rejected vote is a ballot that was put in a ballot box but cannot be counted because it's been deemed faulty. For example, if an elector puts a mark beside more than one candidate's name or does not mark the ballot at all. So if a judicial recount is to go ahead in this case, those 536 rejected ballots will be looked at again. Kuzmichuk says rejected ballots in his riding were among the highest in the country. But as per Elections Canada, these 5 ridings had the highest share of rejected ballots.
You want to look at each one and make sure that the voter's intent is clear.
It's reasonable to seek a judicial recount according to this political scientist, since Kuzmichuk was shy of the threshold for an automatic recount by only 7 votes. Jamie Essex says there are grounds laid out under law for a judicial recount and how the procedures and timelines should look.
So it'll unfold fairly quickly once they determine whether or not it's necessary. Because there are these very strict timelines for how you're supposed to conduct it, just so that the business of government can carry on with the newly elected parliamentarian.
And it's not unusual to ask for a judicial recount, according to Randy Besko at the University of Toronto.
It's very common for candidates who have narrowly lost to request a judicial recount. It happens quite often, really. There's several in every election. But they, the mere fact that it's close is not enough to have a judicial recount. They need to have some evidence of some kind of a problem.
And for others, it's about transparency.
It's part of the electoral system to give candidates the opportunity to pursue all of these things. This is just part of that democratic process unfolding.
A hearing is scheduled to take place on Friday afternoon, and that's when a judge will decide whether or not a recount should take place. Pradesh Dayal, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy joins us now for our first look at weather. And Colette, it looked and it felt like summer today.
There you go, right? Yeah, some really lovely conditions. And that's because essentially we've been able to get rid of this area of low pressure that was hanging around for several days. So it certainly had an impact into eastern Ontario, but we've really seen improvement. Now, there is going to be a shot of some colder air that is actually coming our way as we go through the overnight tonight. So that's going to kick up the winds a little bit, especially into tomorrow from the north to northeast. 7 overnight tonight, a slight chance for a few isolated showers, and then tomorrow we get back into the sun, but a little cooler, 16.
Okay, thank you, Colette. Up next, the sexual assault trial of 5 former World Junior hockey players continues in London, Ontario. The complainant faced a 4th day on the stand as she was cross-examined by defense lawyers. Ali Chiasson has the latest from the courthouse, but first, a warning. Some may find the language in the story disturbing.
Former World Junior hockey goalie Carter Hart was the first of the 5 accused to enter the courthouse today, again walking past a group of activists in support of EM. Inside, Hart's lawyer Megan Savard asked the complainant about her behavior in the hotel room with the hockey players, a time when EM said she felt numb and on autopilot. Savard, one of your coping mechanisms on this unusual night may have been offering sex? EM replied, I was not acting like myself. Savard, you were acting like a porn star? EM, yes. I felt that was the thing they wanted. We spoke with Sam Puhala, a defense attorney not involved in this case, about the defense strategy in this line of questioning.
So for the Crown's case, they have to prove consent beyond a reasonable doubt. It is a high standard, and many of the questions that are being asked from the defense lawyers so far are attacking her credibility and reliability with respect to those issues. It really has to do with whether or not there's a reasonable doubt being raised as to her consent.
This is EM's 4th straight day on the stand, and she's expected to be here throughout the rest of the week as she faces cross-examination from 3 other defense teams. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, London, Ontario.
We know these stories are difficult to hear, so please do take care. And Windsor does have a 24-hour crisis line available through the Sexual Assault Crisis Center. Reach out if you need at 519-253-9667. And up next, we turn to international news. Tensions are soaring between nuclear-armed neighbors India and Pakistan. India launched airstrikes overnight Wednesday on Pakistan and territory it controls in the disputed Kashmir region. Dozens of civilians were reportedly killed. Pakistan claims it shot down several of the attacking aircraft. The strikes were in response to last month's massacre of tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir. India accuses Pakistan of orchestrating the attack which it denies. The office of Pakistan's Prime Minister says he has authorized the military to take corresponding actions for the strikes. And Pratyush Dayal has more now on how members of both communities here are reacting to the conflict.
Dozens have died in Pakistan and India following India firing missiles into Pakistani-controlled territory and Pakistan retaliating. Members from both those communities in Windsor, Essex are worried about the safety of their loved ones and want an end.
From Pakistani community's point of view, it's very, very daunting. It's very, very scary.
For their Secretary General of Pakistan Canada Association Windsor, the news has been shocking and says innocent lives have been lost on both sides of the border.
Nobody could imagine that India will act as the judge, the jury, and the executioner by itself without involving international investigative agencies to investigate the massacre. Our heart goes out for those 26 lives that are lost in India.
That massacre is the starting point of the present tensions between the nuclear-armed neighbors. An attack in which gunmen killed 26 people, mostly Indian Hindu tourists, at a popular meadow in Kashmir. India has blamed Pakistan for backing the attack, something Islamabad has denied.
Obviously, I'm worried about my family. We actually reside near Jammu borders.
This international student from India says she woke up to these videos filmed by her relatives living in a border village where Pakistan's retaliation was felt. CBC has not been able to independently verify the videos. She wants an end to this.
It's actually what I believe is that this is actually between the two nations, men in power, right? Their egos and their things. But the normal public has nothing to do with it. They just want to live their life peacefully, right? So I believe in peace, and so do Jammu and Kashmir.
Others agree.
Should be stopped. Both nations are not in the verge of to take a war, so it will be a worse situation for both of the nations, and no one will benefit from them.
Naqvi also wants Canada to help de-escalate the tensions.
We are expecting the new Prime Minister to put his weight in the international community, especially the UN, to force India and Pakistan to refrain and disengage from a full-blown war with each other that can escalate to a nuclear war.
Pratyush Dayal, CBC News, Windsor.
In other news, the beer store is closing several of its locations across the province, including 2 here in Windsor, one on College, the other on Goyo in the downtown core. In its announcement, the company says it is modernizing operations to meet the needs of the marketplace. It's not clear if that's related to the province's move to put alcoholic beverages in corner stores. CBC's Mike Evans went to both locations earlier today to find out how customers feel about the closures.
It's going to be a little inconvenient for some people. They sell beer at the corner store there, but I still come to the beer store.
Do you enjoy going into the beer store and talking to the people in there?
Yes, I do. It gets me out every day, for a little exercise.
It's a little shocking, but not so much, really. The point is that the corner stores now are selling beer. Other than bringing your empties in is the only problem I have.
I've been talking to people, and they say that the beer store is not as busy now, that you can buy beer in convenience stores. But regardless, people still bring their empties back to this store. What are they going to do?
I don't really have an answer for you on that, other than the fact that I know where I'm going to bring mine. And that'd be Richmond and Walker.
Now, you're driving around on a scooter, so are you going to have to scoot out there?
No, my wife will drive me. I hope.
Now, you have an interesting perspective here because you're a bar owner, so how is this going to affect you?
Well, it's going to make any emergency orders a lot further. So, we relied on this one or College Avenue for any last-minute orders like the one I'm picking up right now.
Why do you think they're closing this place?
I have no idea. It makes no sense. I mean, this is, as you can see, serves the community. It serves the majority of businesses downtown. It's a terrible move. It's just going to be a hassle, especially if you don't drive.
That's another thing. A lot of the people who live downtown don't drive.
Exactly. I can see there's a lot of foot traffic here, as you can see all around you. People just walk from their buildings and, come and grab something. Where are they going to go?
A live look outside there. I hope you were able to get outside and enjoy that sunshine and those warm temperatures that we had today. When we come back, the latest from the Vatican, where cardinals have gathered to select a successor to Pope Francis. Stay with us. Welcome back. Prime Minister Mark Carney updated the premiers on his high-stakes meeting on Tuesday with U.S. President Donald Trump. Although tariffs have not been lifted, the federal and provincial leaders are optimistic about easing the tense relationship. And as Olivia Stefanovich reports, the White House is as well.
It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney with us.
A flattering video from the White House, in stark contrast to the state of Canada-U.S. relations, hitting a historic low.
I think the relationship's going to be very strong.
U.S. President Donald Trump spoke highly of Prime Minister Mark Carney after their meeting.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat.
And although Trump continues to advocate for Canada to become the 51st state,
Takes two to tango, right?
he scaled back the rhetoric and other insults.
As far as calling him Governor Carney, no, I haven't done that yet, and maybe I won't. I did have a lot of fun with Trudeau, but I think this is a big step up. It's a good step up for Canada.
It's good for the country. It's good for the U.S.
Premiers say they're encouraged after hearing from Carney in a First Minister's meeting.
I don't think I'd have the restraint that he had yesterday, to be very frank.
We were all grateful that the meeting went the way that it did, knowing how some other meetings have gone in that exact same office with other world leaders.
I thought he handled it really well and stood up for Canada.
High praise also coming from voters.
I feel much more calmer, especially with the last 2 months where everything was very hectic.
Hopefully it's a good step forward, but I don't think a lot came out of it from the sounds of things.
There was no white smoke, but the relationship was in smoking ruins beforehand.
Now that a reset appears to be taking shape, the focus going forward is on resolving trade issues and striking a new economic and security partnership with the U.S.
I think it was good Prime Minister Carney reminded the president that we're the largest customer, the largest client of the United States.
Carney and Trump agreed to continue discussions over the coming weeks. Their next face-to-face is scheduled to take place at the G7 summit in Kananaskis, Alberta. But first, Carney is scheduled to meet with Canada's premiers in person in Saskatoon on June 2nd. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Black smoke has emerged from the Sistine Chapel chimney. It signals no pope has been elected in the first vote by the cardinals at the papal conclave. 133 cardinals will remain sequestered until a successor to Pope Francis is chosen. Juanita Taylor reports from Vatican City.
Well, black smoke billowed out at about 9 p.m. local time here at the Vatican, and people had been waiting all day for this moment. People were saying that they were feeling curious and intrigued, yet they were patient for that moment.
I've never waited 2 hours to look at some smoke, but that was worth it.
I just think it's really lovely. I love the sense of community the church kind of brings together, and I can really appreciate that even as someone who's not Catholic.
The challenges in this conclave are many. One Vatican observer said that this conclave could prove to be unpredictable, especially with 133 voting cardinals. Many of them know fewer than a dozen, so they'll need time to get to know each other, but more importantly, to assess the front runners. Now, Pope Francis didn't have many gatherings of cardinals, so there were fewer occasions for them to meet compared to a previous pope, so they are largely strangers, and especially those who come from the peripheries. Now, geopolitics is likely to weigh more heavily in this conclave than in those past. Ongoing wars in Ukraine and Gaza, the continuation of Francis's outreach to the Muslim world, and mounting concerns over the current administration in the United States. Now, how long will it be until a new pope is elected? Well, that's anybody's best guess. We know that it takes about, on average, 5 to 6 rounds of voting, and only the first round has been done today. The second round will continue in the morning. And just given the size and shape of this College of Cardinals, any outcome is still possible as they get to work choosing their next leader of the Catholic Church. Juanita Taylor, CBC News, Vatican.
Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 48 people in Gaza, including women and children, according to local health authorities. Medics say 2 attacks targeted a school Wednesday in a suburb of Gaza City, killing 15 people, and that a later Israeli airstrike hit near a crowded market and restaurant in the city, killing at least 33. The dead and wounded were rushed away in the back of pickups and carts. And the latest bloodshed comes after Israel approved a plan to expand military operations in the territory. We'll have Colette right after the break. Stay with us. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. Colette, earlier we talked about these beautiful warm temperatures that we got to enjoy today, but we've seen a pretty significant drop in just the last little bit. So what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. You really can feel it, or it's illustrated so well when you can see this, where we've got a cold front coming in, the winds change direction, and we go from 23 degrees last hour and dropping down to 15 degrees now in the 6 o'clock hour. So that's the kind of impact it can have as it continues to filter eastward. That temperature in Toronto will be coming down, some of that cooler air behind the front. I mean, yeah, Kapuskasing just 1 degree. Moosonee this morning was -5. So some of that colder air, not that extreme, but is kind of coming our way. So we just have a day where the temperatures drop a little bit tomorrow. And so I'll get into that. But also for tomorrow, your sunrise at 6:18, your sunset at 8:39. So these lovely long days, or lots of daylight at 14 hours and just over 20 minutes there. There it is at 15. And look at Sarnia into the single digits, just 7 degrees. That wind coming in off the lake and a little bit gusty there. Those gusts up towards or just over 50 kilometers an hour as we go through the overnight. That's what we get with this front passing, is some kind of blustery winds for a little bit. Even into tomorrow, you'll find those winds 20 to maybe gusting towards 40 kilometers an hour before they begin to calm down. So that's that cooler feel to the air. Along with it, there's not much moisture with this particular front, but a few showers may fill in. So an isolated shower, not out of the question as we get towards tomorrow morning. You can see some of that cloud cover that's coming in as well. So the beginning of the day, we'll have a little bit of that cloud cover, perhaps a few showers to begin, and then we will be clearing. So at least, even if it's a little cooler and a little bit breezy, we're going to have a lot of sunshine. And I'll tell you, with this ridge of high pressure building in, we're going to have a lot of sunshine moving forward for several days. And not only that, but the temperature will begin to pick up as well. So some really nice conditions as we head towards the weekend. Overnight tonight, near 8 degrees for our low, and then tomorrow 16. So don't get me wrong, it's not that it's not a nice day. That's still a pretty pleasant day. I think many of us would be happy to have it, and that's what we've got. Now into Friday, 20 degrees, so there goes the building of the temperatures. 24, still mostly sunny on Saturday. For Mother's Day, 24, and then we're going to be continuing to warm up. And the other thing that will be happening as we get towards the end of the week and the beginning of next week is we may find the humidity, those dew points starting to creep up a little bit as well, but we're used to that, right, Katerina?
That good old Windsor humidity. Thank you so much, Colette, and
You're
thanks
welcome.
to you all for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.